You don't lose your money. At least, not at first. Nothing actually disappears. There are no alerts, no breaking news headlines. You check your balance and the number is the same. It hasn't changed, but something feels off. You try to use it and it just doesn't work the way it always has. A payment to a friend takes hours instead of seconds. You're at a grocery store and your card is declined. You try it again and this time it works. Your banking app flashes a message, temporary issue. You brush it off. You try another store, another terminal, another day. Eventually, the transaction goes through. So you move on with your life. Most people do, because when your money is gone, the panic is obvious. It's a clear, sharp signal. But when the money is there, but you can't quite use it, the signal is subtle. And we are very, very good at ignoring subtle signals. For decades, this exact pattern has played out time and again right before a financial system tightens. Not collapses, not crashes, tightens. The money doesn't vanish, your access to it changes. Suddenly, there are new limits you never saw before. Delays become more common. Simple approvals take longer. And every single change comes with a perfectly reasonable explanation. System maintenance, unusually high traffic, enhanced security verification, a temporary restriction for your protection. Each reason makes perfect sense on its own. That's why we don't see the pattern. But when you line these moments up across different countries, different years, different systems, a strange picture emerges. Before any major disruption, access becomes unreliable first. Before the rules are officially changed, behavior is changed quietly. No one sends an email that says, by the way, your access is about to matter more than your balance. Instead, the system tests. It watches. It gathers data on how people react. Do you complain to the bank? Do you switch to cash? Or do you just accept the delay and try again? And most of the time, we do. We accept it because nothing feels truly broken. It just feels a little slower, a little stricter, more inconvenient. This isn't about creating fear, it's about creating friction. When friction increases gradually, step by step, people adapt without putting up a fight. We change our habits without even realizing it. We start carrying an extra card just in case. We pull out cash a day earlier than we need to. We might even avoid certain large purchases online. All of these are subconscious responses to a signal we haven't consciously registered. Historically, this phase doesn't last forever. Either the access stabilizes or new official rules appear. But the signal always comes first, not in government speeches, not in policy papers. It appears in behavior, in those small, forgettable moments that most of us just shrug off. A declined payment that works on the second try, a purchase that suddenly needs a text message approval, a new daily transfer limit that wasn't there last month. Each one by itself is insignificant, but together they form a pattern. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people never recognize the pattern until after the system has already changed. They look back on all those small frustrations and finally say, oh, now it all makes sense. But at the time, it just felt normal.
There are moments when you notice something small, a tiny shift that most people just scroll past. If you're someone who catches these details, if you pay attention to the patterns before they become headlines, then this is for you. We're not here for alerts or for predictions. We're here to keep observing what happens right before things become obvious. When access to something tightens, the system rarely gives a straight answer as to why, because explanations create questions, and questions, they can create resistance. So instead, the change is framed as a form of protection. You'll hear phrases like security updates, fraud prevention, enhanced user safety. And here's the thing, each reason on its own makes perfect sense. It's logical, it's reasonable. Who wouldn't want more security? But pay attention to what usually happens next. People don't stop their activity, they don't stop spending, they just change how they do it. They might move their larger purchases to earlier in the month. They start to avoid big single transactions that might get flagged. They keep a little more just-in-case cash on hand. They begin testing the new limits, often without even realizing that's what they're doing. Behavior adapts long before any new policy is officially announced. This is important because systems don't react to opinions, they react to behavior. And when enough people quietly adjust, the system learns something crucial. The new restrictions are tolerated. There's no panic, no backlash, no angry headlines. For the system, that's a green light. Historically, this is the exact moment where access stops being a given and becomes conditional. Not removed, not frozen, just conditional. More steps, more approvals, more rules that simply weren't there last week. And the system doesn't even need to enforce it aggressively. Why? Because most people have already adjusted their behavior voluntarily. What looks like top-down control is actually bottom-up adaptation, and that adaptation is almost invisible. It's why these moments never feel dramatic. They feel boring, administrative, just another form to fill out, another box to check, utterly forgettable. Until later. It's only in hindsight that the dots connect. People remember that first strange delay, the first unexplained decline, that first temporary error message, and they realize those weren't glitches, they were signals. Signals that appeared long before any official changes were ever announced, before the press releases, before the explanations. This whole pattern isn't really about money disappearing. It's about permission. It's about who decides when you can use your own resources, how often, and under what conditions. That question always emerges quietly, long before anyone dares to ask it out loud. And if this entire process feels strangely familiar to you, that's the point. These patterns don't announce themselves with a bang. They just repeat across different systems, across different countries, across decades. The tools change, but the behavior stays the same. Most people never notice because nothing ever feels truly broken, just slightly different than it used to be. So the real question isn't, is something wrong? The real question is, what usually comes after this phase? And maybe more importantly, why does it always start the exact same way? Patterns don't need our belief. They only need our attention.